Hello and a very warm welcome to the brand new edition of To The Point. I'm Priti Mishra. And on today's show, we are joined by President of FICCI and also Joint Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals and Enterprises, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy. Dr. Reddy, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you so much for joining us in this era of social distancing.
Thank you, Kirti, and namaste to you and to all your viewers. It's not just social distancing, but a really time we're all together fighting a battle that we've never fought before. It's really the battle of our generation. And I wish everybody good health and safety and a speedy recovery for the whole country.
Absolutely, ma'am. We are fighting this battle against the invisible enemy, and we do hope that we emerge victorious. But now I'm talking about corporate India first of all. There was a part resumption of activities in terms of production in certain sectors. Tell us what are the challenges, what are the constraints, and how is corporate India ensuring safety measures?
So clearly, I think essential services are things which have opened because people, are very, very clear about that. And the back-end supply chain, so manufacture of food, oil was already working. There's a series of steps which is required to ensure safety, and corporate India is definitely ready to rise to any challenge, whether it is re-engineering the workplace so that they can observe social distancing, enhancing just wash basins so that people are washing their hands, temperature control outside so that you check people when they come in. And FICCI gave a set of standard operating procedure guidelines. In fact, even Apollo Hospitals, we had done a checklist for all corporates as well as manufacturing, which is after the lockdown. And these have served as good guidelines. I think there's still a little bit of regulation that we need to look at because, for instance, there is one clause which says that once you've started manufacturing, if any of your employees becomes corona positive, then you are liable for criminal action. And I think that's a very, very difficult thing when this is, this is not just a virus, this is a pandemic, it's everywhere. Even if the workplace is safe, when they go home in the evening, they could get it, when they visit the grocery store or the supermarket. So while corporate India will definitely share responsibility and ensure good practice, I think it's very important for this concept of criminalization to go and a certain sense of we're all in this together, let's trust each other, let's support each other and make it happen. I think we should also be very cognizant of the fact that it was going to be very difficult to get labor back to the factories, to the work sites, to construction. This is going to take some time, it's going to take some good planning. And we have also given significant guidelines, which is based on science and appropriate data, that large, construction companies who have, say, a work gang of 5,000 people, they've been maintaining them, they've been feeding them. Before they resume work, if they were enabled to do some testing, that would be a very good thing. And many other corporates, especially the pharma companies, are requesting for enhanced testing and more lenient guidelines and criteria on who to test. So if they kind of test their whole company, then they have a baseline figure to go by and they're able to monitor the safety of their whole team. So I think testing is also another important factor. SOPs are very important, but corporate India is ready, is cooperative, and very, very appreciative of the magnitude of the entire problem.
Dr. Reddy, you used a very important term that is trust. I remember Prime Minister Narendra Modi also said that trust is the fulcrum of the economy and it is measured by a special yardstick. It is lost or earned during difficult times. Effectively, the message was that do not cut jobs. How is corporate India ensuring or it is avoiding layoffs?
So I think in the first month, everyone was very clear we need to maintain our people. In the second month, I think people are beginning to look because there's an understanding or an appreciation of the extent of the problem. Everyone is awaiting a financial package which has not come. The RBI has done some significant announcements to enhance the liquidity to the banks, but this does not necessarily mean that the corporate India is getting those, because while there has been conversation about a moratorium and an interest moratorium as well as a principal being back-ended, this has effectively not been implemented across all the banks. And therefore, corporate India will look to cutting cost. I think the strategy that many are following is not really to cut the jobs, but maybe to make everybody take a pay cut or make the higher levels of people take a pay cut. But definitely, there is a significant pressure. And if I can just share with you, today FICCI came out with a survey which was done, in conjunction with another agency called Dhruva. And not only did the survey say that 70% of people believe that their businesses are going to be significantly affected, 63% of them said that they would need to trim their cost. And for many people, manpower or wages is a significant cost. And say for the jute industry, for example, I believe that 1 month's profit is, or rather 6 months profit is equivalent to 1 month of wages. And so it is such a big impact. It's labor intensive industries. And so, corporate India will have to protect or safeguard or keep their companies alive. So it's very important for a financial package to be announced quickly to ensure that corporates do not resort to letting go of employees. As of now, I think everyone is holding on, and we have trust in the government. We have trust that a good package is going to come, and therefore corporate India is waiting for it.
Right, ma'am. As you've mentioned that RBI tried to infuse liquidity, there was a cut in the repo rate by 75 base points. We also saw that Government of India announced a package of 1.7 lakh crore rupees. What's the way forward?
So I think the 1.7 lakh was a very, a good first step. It spoke about putting money in the people's hands. There was direct cash transfers, but I think the amount is truly inadequate. FICCI's recommendations was actually an overall sum of 10 lakh crores. The first was clearly to put more money in the hands of the vulnerable, to front end the PM Kisan scheme, and the combination of these two schemes actually, of putting money, doing direct transfers. And we gave another recommendation today also, which is that has a bank or a trust of income which has been built up over the years through the contributions of corporates and individuals. This is a time, and that money was kept, say, for illness. This is a time which could be considered a kind of illness. So a combined relief to the vulnerable of 2 lakh crores is our recommendation, whether the source is from ESI, is from other pending payments. The second important relief needs to go to MSME. MSME employs about 70% of the non-agri workforce in this country. And this is a significant segment of people who are employed. So if the MSME goes out of business, this will have a cascading effects on jobs and therefore on the economy. So here we had recommended 1.3 lakh crores to go into MSME as well as relief to high impacted sectors like the aviation, the hospitality industry, retail and restaurants. So this was the next level. And this also leaves interest reliefs and waivers for these sectors. We then went on to talk about an entire chapter on ensuring business continuity. And under ensuring business continuity, this included refunds to be expedited because the income tax, the GST and the state GST is a huge pending amount which is sitting with governments and not coming into industry's hands. Also other pending dues, and that entire amount is actually 2.5 lakh crores. So one of the most significant portion of the ask was not give industry fresh money, just pay what it's due, pay what it's owed. And the other one which we did speak about was a stop the clock on interest payment. And this was calculated to be approximately about 0.8 lakh crores. So the combination of the interest-free amounts of collateral-free working capital loans, the relief to high-impact sectors, the MSME and to corporates, that actually the combination is about 3.3 lakh crores. We then went on to speak about 1 lakh crores for the healthcare sector, because not only do you need to pay for these costs, and this is for public and private together, but the ramping up of the healthcare facilities, the creation of COVID hospitals, the creation of testing capability, of isolation beds, of deployment of and the payment which will need to be made to the private healthcare sector, which is suffering significantly because patients cannot reach them. So that was an allocation of 1 lakh crore, 1.3 lakh crores actually. We then said that the government should create another amount of about 2 lakh crores. And this 2 lakh crores is to put into the new age business or to put into new manufacturing clusters to enhance our agri sector so that there is a value addition in agri, and this enables the age-old promise of doubling farmers' income. This would be a significant step towards that. Plus, this would help us take care of the disrupted global supply chains.
Yes.
So the net combined package, including what had been announced earlier, is 10 lakh crores, which is about 4.5% of GDP. And, most people would ask, where is this money going to come from? And how can you recommend something so major? So not only did we create this package by talking to economists, to industrialists, to international experts, but we analyzed this and also validated this model. And now you see, whether it's the IMF or whether it's the rating agencies, everybody said you should not worry about inflation. By breaching or enhancing the fiscal deficit or breaching the FRBM, I think the biggest worry that governments would have is inflation or downgrading of ratings.
Right.
This is not a time to look at ratings, and you don't have to worry about inflation. The biggest and most significant worry on the whole world's economic gurus is deflation. And today we saw the crude price come to a negative price for, I think, the first time in our lifetimes.
That's right.
So this is the state of the economy. We must be bold. We must be magnanimous in giving out money, because the economy has suffered a demand shock been seen before. This economy has gone into what is being called a medically induced coma.
Yes.
And so if you want to wake up the economy after a coma, a light tap on the shoulder will not do. You need to give it a jor se dakka a little bit and find a way to reinvigorate the economy. So this is FICCI's 10 lakh crore package, 4.5% of GDP, with a complete recommendation on source of funding as well.
Absolutely. So effectively, you're saying that FRBM inflation can take a back seat right now, and the focus should be on stimulus and the focus should be on spending. But talking about the capacity of corporate India, how do you plan to further augment the capacity, create new ones, and utilize the existing ones?
So I think the capacity of Indian industry is quite significant. Just for example, you see the response they've given now to the need of the hour. The need of the hour is to creation of beds, creation of ventilators, creation of PPEs. And whether it's textile units, large companies like Arvind Mill coming in and manufacturing PPEs, or large manufacturing, whether they're in the auto industry or the defense industry, and they're now looking at how to assemble ventilators. Indian industry is strong, is creative, is capable, and has worked not just with Jugaad, but with a commitment to quality. It has captured global markets before. We are actually quite constrained in this country compared to many other countries when it comes to land acquisition cost, labor laws, cost of electricity, cost of logistics. Despite these significant disadvantages, Indian industry has been able to compete internationally, but we must do much more. Our share of the global market is of the global market. We must find a way to step this up. And if we are indeed having an ambition of a $5 trillion economy, at least 1 trillion of that has to come from exports. And this is the right time for us to be bold and creative and find ways to do it.
Ma'am, of course, the healthcare realm would demand a paradigm shift now. What would be the role of the private sector?
And I'm quite sad when I say this, and that is the role of the private sector should be acknowledged and appreciated. You may have heard of the very sad story of Dr. Simon, who was treating patients in his hospital. He succumbed himself, and his colleague in an ambulance was taking his body for burial, and they were actually beaten on the street, and there was no one to help them even cremate that body. these kind of things have to stop. So we must start with respect. We have to start with an acknowledgement of the role that private sector had played. I mean, honestly, who would, most of the hospitals, 70% of the advanced healthcare, that burden is taken by private sector. And this acknowledgement of the capability, the fact that people from 120 countries come to India for treatment, the fact that high-end care is available in India at 1/10 of global prices, these have to be acknowledged. I also want to acknowledge that yes, there are certain elements in the healthcare sector who sometimes misbehave and don't give it a good name, who overcharge patients. These can be controlled. The role of quality and price management is definitely a role that the government can play. However, we must acknowledge, encourage, appreciate, and assist the healthcare sector to grow. Coming back to your original question on, so clearly there is a significant appreciation now about the importance of healthcare and healthcare workers. There's a need to strengthen our primary healthcare system. There's a need to strengthen our health data communication system. And I think the government's Arogya Setu may be one step in that direction. Many years ago, we at Apollo had actually created the country's first personal health record. And this is available for us to share with the whole country because it's an appropriate validation of the role of primary healthcare, the importance of continuum of care, and the appreciation of the fact that different levels of care will happen in different institutions, and the patient should be able to seamlessly flow through different levels of healthcare, and whether it's a public hospital or a private hospital, all of them should be able to treat the patient and contribute towards his health and well-being. And finally, I think the most important paradigm is going to be about prevention and keeping people healthy.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. Point well taken. But talking about a larger picture. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Dr. Reddy.
Point on healthcare, and that point I think is that the age has come for telemedicine. Almost 20 years ago, we started India's first experiment with telemedicine, connecting a small village to our large hospital when President Bill Clinton had visited India. The time has come now. Now doctors are sitting comfortably in their homes and teleconsulting with a patient who's comfortably in their home. Patients who typically used to travel, now at least 30 to 40% of them need not travel. They can stay home and get their review visits done. So I think integrating telehealth and digital health into mainstream medicine is going to be one of the biggest new paradigms post-COVID.
Absolutely, ma'am. Point well taken. We'll have to think of novel avenues. But Dr. Reddy, I want to talk about the larger picture. Let's talk about the FDI changes that the government of India has done in terms of acquisition of Indian companies. How important is it to protect the indigenous interests?
So clearly, it's very important. I think, many companies now will potentially have certain disruption in their marketing cycles, in their revenue, in their cash flows. This is a time they may be breaching some of their bank covenants and could become ripe takeover targets. And therefore, it's very important for the government to protect these companies. And protection comes in many ways. I mean, the RBI policy was the first one. We're looking for fiscal stimulus, which will be the second. And I think the third one is potentially this kind of control on FDI coming from our neighbors. I think it's important for us to slightly clarify that policy because there are also a lot of funds who invest in India with a base in Hong Kong. Is Hong Kong a part of China and therefore our neighbor? Aspects like that need a bit of streamlining, but broadly, I think it is a significant and appropriate policy and a good safeguard put in place at the right time.
Dr. Reddy, there has been a notion, a narrative that China's loss could be India's opportunity or India's gain. Manufacturing has long been our Achilles heel. Do you think a time has come where this could be an opportunity for India? Would you agree with that narrative?
Oh, I totally agree with that. I think the changed geopolitical situation opens up significant opportunities for India. And these are definitely one in manufacturing. And that's why in FICCI's recommendation of budgetary allocation for COVID or our COVID stimulus package response actually allocates money so that upfront the government can very quickly create manufacturing clusters. If they create the infrastructure and invite private in to use those infrastructure sheds for manufacturing, we can scale, we can do it fast, and we can be ready to take opportunity of this disruption in the global supply chain. I think the government is already looking, FICCI is in conversation with them, whether we're looking at the furniture sector, we're looking at textiles, we're looking at electronics manufacture. And of course in clothing, while Vietnam and Bangladesh have stolen a march on us, there's still a lot of opportunity and very important for us to take that. I believe the Indian Karigar is among the most talented. So a combination of design, good labor law, good marketing, and a smarter logistics framework will enable India to take advantage of the high, the middle, and the low end products in terms of manufacture. In the very same breath, I think in terms of import substitution itself, the Swadeshi market is a very large market, which is important for us to capitalize on. And even in healthcare, the Make in India is a policy and a strategy that we must very much pursue.
Absolutely. Make in India should be the way ahead. But lastly, Dr. Reddy, there are economic disruptions across the globe. How do you look at the post-corona world? What are the changes and what are the new business models that are going to emerge?
So I think there are a range of them, whether it's the work from home that now everybody's become very familiar with, it's the use of digital, it's the combination. So this hybrid economy is really going to emerge, which is a combination of seamlessly moving from digital and online to physical. This will become mainstream, whether it's a portion of studying, whether it's HR and recruiting. I think Skype-based interviews are really going to become the norm rather than the exception. So across the workforce. But I believe also that it's important for us to look at the potential changes in terms of new materials. So antiviral, highly sanitized environments, people are going to become a lot more paranoid about the physical environment that they're in. So I think air conditioning will now be combined with HEPA filtered air conditioning. So it's literally like the whole room is wearing an N95 mask before you breathe that air. These type of models and new opportunities are definitely going to emerge for us. But also in terms of the change, I think, while we've all been sitting at home, with barring some exceptions, I'm in the healthcare field, but while most people have been sitting at home, we are seeing that, suddenly the birds are back. In Navi Mumbai, you saw the birds this morning in the lake. There's less pollution. There's a certain ability for us to appreciate each other, even the people at home. So I think the introduction of human values, the respect of individuals, the appreciation of art and culture, and all those, I think, are going to, it's going to leave an impact. These 40 days are definitely not going to leave any of us unchanged. I hope that the temporary business problems are overcome and there's a strengthening of character, of morality, of appreciation, which leaves us at the end, it leaves the world a better and cleaner place, and human beings a better and a kinder race, because they've learned something which is very important.
Absolutely. The biggest takeaway from this interview for me is human beings a better and a kinder race. On that note, Dr. Reddy, thank you so much for joining us and giving us that important perspective.
Very nice talking to you, Kirti, and all the very best to you and to all your viewers. I know Rajya Sabha TV, has a very elite viewership and a very significant members of policy makers in our country. And I hope our message of the need for industry to be supported, of the creative and thoughtful package that FICCI has created and the stimulus which is required, which is not just asking for industry's sake, but asking for the country's sake. So thank you very much and namaste to all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.